All right. Doing a Crimson Vow quick draft replay. Want to do like a little find the line type thing here. And go over Crimson Vow since it's been in the quick draft queue. We open a pretty bad pack. No good rares, no good uncommons, but we do get a Flame Blast Bolt. One of the best commons in the set, I think second only to Traveling Minister. Although I do like playing red more than I do like playing whites. I think red, blue, red, black, and red, white are all very good archetypes. So we're going to take Flame Blast Bolt and be happy about it. Here we get kind of a tough pick. Dormant Grove is one of the better uncommons in green. There's also a Drog Skull Infantry, but it's between Grove and Celebrants. I think it's correct here to see what the bots are doing. And get past that open color. From what I understand, bots tend to pick two colors and try to stick to them unless signals are cut really bad. So we're going to take Falcon Wrath Celebrants and keep on going. Now, in the back of my mind, I always have this red-blue deck. Now, Lambholt Raconteur, not as good as a Kessig Flamebreather. Not even close. But it'll get the job done. It's got 4 toughness, which matters in a format with Flame Blast Bolt and a Braid. And it also rarely attacks, so it's not as easy to pick off with Fierce Retribution or anything like that. Not that Kessig Flamebreather is anyway, but we're going to stay red. No real reason to get out of red there. And here we see another one of the best uncommons in the set. There's Alluring Suitor. There's also a Wandering Mind, one of the better gold uncommons. There's a Diregraph Scavenger in that pack and another Falcon Wrath Celebrants. Just a ton of really good cards in that pack. We take the best red card there. We're not interested in branching out quite yet. Now we see a Vampire's Vengeance. That card is very underrated. And if we're in red-blue, Kessig Flame Breathers have 3 toughness. So they survive Vampire's Vengeance, and they can really wipe out a board of non-vampire creatures and shit. Pick up a couple late white cards. We might try to do white-red aggro, although this is not a great shell for it. Lambholt Raconteur, Vampire's Vengeance, Fierce Retribution, and Panic Bystander are all better off in different types of decks. But we're going to take the open lane while we got these bots passed to us. One thing that is better in red-white is Bloody Betrayal. Obviously, it's fine in red-blue as well if you have, like, exploit creatures, or red-black if you got exploit. We'll take the Alchemist's Retrieval here, though. And then we see late Evolving Wilds, late Chill of the Grave. Chill of the Grave is fantastic if we can pick up Flame Breathers. And then we see a Wield Scattered Thoughts. I do like this card in red-blue in particular, but also in white-blue. It's good. 1, maximum 2 in a deck is fine. You don't want to overload on these. This format isn't super blazing fast, but it is, you have to be on the board, and doing nothing with 4 mana on turn 4 is rough. Thankfully, the red-blue deck can play at instant speed, so yeah, and if you're getting damage in with your Scattered Thoughts due to Flame Breathers and shit like that, works out well. Also, if you have big bombs, Scattered Thoughts looks 4 deep, right? Top 4 cards of your library, 2 go to the yard, and then 2 go into your hand. Here, don't open anything. Whispering Wizard is kind of a trap card, I think. 2 toughness is just too small for 4 mana. Getting that hit by a Flame Blast Bolt is just bad. So we're going to take Storm Chaser Drake here. I think that's a better aggressive card. Also, in the red-blue deck, you're playing cards like Cradle of Safety or Serpentine Ambush or Sure Strike. So you are playing some of those cards so you can draw off Storm Chaser Drake. So I think that's correct over Whispering Wizard. I've never been a fan of that. It looks sweet, but I think it's more fancy than good. Here, another medium pack. Would much rather have Kessig Flame Breathers than these Raconteurs, but we're going to take them while we're there. Maybe we can explore some sort of more controlling red-blue shell. But that's tough to come by in this format, because usually you need to be able to capitalize and beat your opponent's bombs. And if you're controlled, you need to have the bomb and a way to find it. Here we see our first Flame Breather. We're going to snap that up. Now I'm not feeling too bad. I got my first one. Definitely like more. I have 2 Raconteurs, which aren't as good, as I said, but still count. Follow that up with another one. So now we're at 4. Now we're cooking with gas here. So looking like we have a pretty sweet brew going. And then we see an Epicure. This little creature is deceptively good. I do love me a Syncopate. I think every red-blue deck should have one. It stops Toxrill. It stops Edgar, any Avabruck Caretaker, those huge bombs. But we're going to take our first Epicure. And then we see a Diverscob. And this is actually a tough pick. I think Diverscob is good here because we want to be a tempo deck. And that's bouncing, Chill of the Grave, and then Diverscob to top their stuff while we keep pinging away with Flamebreathers and getting in little pokes of damage and stuff like that. So tough pick. Voldaren Epicure is good, but it's best in red-black, or if you have ways to exploit it, then it becomes a really good creature. Red-white, it's fine as well. But it shines in red-black, I think. Another Kessig Flamebreather. Love what we're seeing. That's 5 total pingers. If we can manage to turn it into Night Raconteur hits for 2 on the backside, which is really nice. Now we see a Pummeler and a Cradle of Safety. Pummeler, I'm thinking if we're going to be in them or Control Shell, Pummeler can randomly win a long game, right? Because you cast X for 5, and when it gets dealt damage, that X damage, those counters come off of it, and they deal damage to any target. So here we have a tough pick. It's Serpentine Ambush and Sure Strike. They both have their uses in this deck. And they're both fine tricks in this deck specifically. Serpentine Ambush is only good, I think, in this deck. And then you have Sure Strike as well, which is good, I think, in red-green. It has a place in red-white for sure. But I think it's real. Both of those are going to be very good on our Storm Chaser Drakes and randomly on our Flame Breathers to help get them through combat or kill a 4 toughness creature. Also, you pop them on a Celebrance and deal 7 damage out of nowhere and win the game. So 7 menace, or you 2 for 1 your opponent because they got to double block the Celebrance because it's menace. So there's lots of different options here. So I think we're going to take the Sure Strike. Works better with Celebrance. We'll pick up our first Bloody Betrayal. Starting to think that card might be good here now with 3 Flame Breathers and a Raconteur. If we have any number of those out, we're dealing big damage, clearing the way, and then hopefully setting up our opponent to be in like kind of a no-win situation. Last pick, Alchemist Retrieval is great. And then we get our best buddy, the Dream Shackle, guys. This card is huge. We're going to take that over Flame Breather and Syncopate here. This card on turn 3, rare, one of the better rares in the set. So, love it. Love to see it. Kind of a blank. Ballista Watcher has a place in certain decks, but I think it's a little bit overrated myself. But it certainly can take over a game in the right game state. Get another one over nothing. There's a Siphon Essence here, which I don't really want over a Ballista Watcher. I'm just trying to make sure we get playables. Now we see an Evolving Wilds and a whole lot of nothing. We're going to take that Evolving Wilds. This is our second. This kind of helps out our mana. We need double blue, double red right now, so this can help us fix, thin the deck. Between that and our Scattered Thoughts, hopefully we can come up with something. Another Kessig Flame Breather. Don't mind if I do that. Is number 4. Now we see a Chill of the Grave. We're going to take that over Cruel Witness here. Cruel Witness is fine, but our game plan is to kill with Flame Breathers. And a pick 9 Flame Breather, number 5. This deck is officially insane. Even we might consider playing a Wedding Invitation just because it's a spell and we have 7 different pinger cards in our deck. So this is crazy. Our deck isn't perfectly synergistic, like no deck is, but I think our deck is very strong. We have 5 cuts to make, and we got to make the best decision here for this deck. Because right now, it's not synergized. There's powerful cards like Ballista Watcher, but does that fit? There's powerful cards like Diverscob. Does that fit? And then we also have really one Vampire in Celebrance that's going to deal damage. And I know Wedding Invitation is a non-creature spell, but is that the right thing to be doing here? We have 2 Bloody Betrayals. I'm looking at one of those. So I think my last 2 cuts We're going to be Wedding Invitation and then Diver Scob, and then we're going to just jump right on in. I think this should be the deck. There is some thought to cutting one Evolving Wild, so I'm a little bit more consistent on mana. But I really, if I don't cast Voldaren Epic here on turn 1 or Flame Best Bolt on turn 1, that's not too big of a deal if I'm playing that Evolving Wild. I really want to make sure I get down my Flame Breathers and then start going out. So I really want to make sure I hit Mountain on turn 2. And as powerful as Diver Scob is, really the only creature I want to be sacking to it is that Epicure. I guess I could Bloody Betrayal something and then sack with Diver Scob, but that's 8 mana. So hopefully I don't have to do that. I'm just able to kill them by casting a bunch of spells and pinging them to death. And I should be. This deck looks pretty sweet. This is my favorite, most fun deck to play in the format. I love it. The old Is It Pinger deck with Dream Shackle Geist for added backup. I believe the Crimson Vow quick drafts are going away soon. Crimson Vow wasn't my favorite set, but I'm enjoying it a lot more than I did Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate was fine. I had some success in that format, but I feel that I pretty much explored a lot of it already. Mardu is good, green is good, blue is bad. Reminds me just too much of AFR. I wasn't a fan of that one either. This here is not this is the last card we wanted to see. This is Traveling Minister. This is I think the best common in the set. They didn't use it for whatever reason, which is really sketching me out and makes me think that they have a trick here, so I'm not going to risk my Flame Breather by attacking into it. And luckily they play a Desperate Farmer here. And now we can swing with both creatures, Alluring Suitor and Flame Breather. They can double block if they want. But I'd be able to kill both creatures if they want to do that. Very confused by this block. Seems to be the worst decision there. Because I'm just going to pump. And then I'm going to play a Lamholt Raconteur. So this game is looking pretty mopped up right now. But this is also kind of setting off red flags. So there's a couple of sweepers in this format. Path of Peril and by invitation only. So Path of Peril, I think you can cast for 3 or 4 mana and kill all creatures with CMC 3 or less, which would kill my Dancer and Flame Breather. And then by invitation only would wipe my board. So I think I have to be a little bit scared of that here. So I have the option now of dealing a ton of damage to them with Bloody Betrayal. That gives me a blood token, which I can sack to that Socialite to deal even more damage. So I can probably deal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage. 15, something like that. We're going to see. So I'm going to go for it. And then hope that my Raconteur and Flame Breather can get the job done. That's a big swing. They're at 4. So 2 spells will do it. I have 6 mana and a Scattered Thoughts, which is one of those. So they're going to have to wipe my board here or they are in trouble. And they couldn't. So by invitation only, I think is the name of the sweeper. It is 5 mana in this set. So they didn't have it. And now we top deck a 2 mana spell anyway. So we're golden. Pinged him out. What I could have done is alternatively flipped it to Knight and dealt him an extra damage if for some reason they had something there that made me not want to attack. I also had scattered thoughts and a Deadly Dancer activation to give another creature +1/+0. So I think I might have had them either way, but the Sure Strike would have sealed the deal. Here, great hand, 2 Flame Breathers, Flame Blessed Bolt, and an Alchemist Retrieval. I have 5, so I'm going to be a little bit careless with them and hope that my opponent doesn't know to shoot those things dead on sight, because they are atrocious to play against. Can play 1 on 2 and then 1 on 3 and hold up the Retrieval. Draw my Evolving Wilds. That's great insurance. Make sure I get my second mountain. Also, because I have 2 Flame Breathers, I want to play the 1 on 2, play 1 on 3, and then hold up Alchemist Retrieval. Red-black means I'm probably going to get abraded. Just drew a 3rd Flame Breather, which is good. But this thing is probably not long for this world. Opponent's thinking about it. It's like they know the archetype. Oh, Parasitic Grasp is the worst card I could have played against there. That's one of the better uncommons in the set. Gains 3 life, and then they play a Gluttonous Guest to gain more life. So this looks like the worst possible opening for me. So we're saving that Retrieval here in case they have something else. So we can try to save Flame Breather. Next turn, we'll be able to play another Flame Breather and then hold up FBB and Alchemist Retrieval. But this is looking like a very tough matchup. This is not the matchup that we want to see. This and white-black life gain are tough for this deck. So it was a good flip. They're looking for lands, is what it looks like. So if they have a swamp in their hand, they can bleed dry the Flame Breather. So I'm going to want to make sure I leave up Retrieval. But then they cast Gift of Fangs, and I don't want to get beat down by a super buff Gluttonous Guest. I'll have to see what I can do here. This does let me swing back for 1, play another Flame Breather, and then hold up Retrieval here. So I'm going to wait for a little bit and see if they play a swamp off the top before I bounce that Guest. This might be a grindy game. And I know, like, if I bounce the Guest, yes, they get another blood token, but then they can't get through Flame Breathers, so hopefully I can just slow them down. And then it also kills their Gift of Fangs, so, you know. Deals 2 damage. Kind of resets me back to parity. It does open me up for a Bleed Dry, but if they want to spend their turn Bleed Drying a Flame Breather, so be it, you know. The other bad thing is now they can Ragged Recluse and then pitch a blood token to make it a 3/3, which they didn't do, thankfully. I think if they did that, we lose the game. Right there. We are done. I should have just taken the 3 there. So that was a mistake. That was a punt. I should have found a better line. That was a huge punt on my side. I should have taken 3, waited till end of turn, and then killed the Ragged Recluse. Now I have a Chill to deal a couple more damage, ping in there. Looks like they're stuck on 3, so this is really good for me. Although we are flooding out, Chill's going to help us draw a card here. Hopefully it's not a land. Get in for a couple more damage. Another Flame Breather, that's good. Bloody Betrayal is good. I'm going to save that one because Guest is tapped down. See if they play a threat here or something else I can steal. Deal them a few more. Get in there with the Betrayal. But I also want to cast it next turn so I can get that blood token in case I draw a land. I can pitch to a blood token, hopefully get into some more action here. Pretty much done with drawing lands. Usually I like to get to 6 or 7 depending on the deck in Crimson Vow, and then just have enough blood tokens to cycle them all away. Epicure's good, but they played nothing, which means my Spidey sense is going off. I'm not sure. I don't remember all the tricks and stuff in the set. I don't think there's anything they can do to ambush me in red-black. I know green, there's something they can do, but let's see. Still have enough mana to kind of do everything here, so yeah, more land. So now I have a decision to make. If I Bloody Betrayal, they go to 8 from the Flamebreathers, and then I swing for 4, and they go to 4. And that gets me pretty close to killing them. Now, they do have 2 Gluttonous Guest activations, which would bring them to 13. Then, so I would take them down to 6, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. There's a potential. What I should have done is steal the guest first. Then I get a blood token, use that, gain a life from the blood token while I have the guest. So right now they've gained 3 life from Parasitic Grasp. They're gaining 2 more from Gluttonous Guest. So they're up 5 from where they should be. So you can see why this matchup is tough. Our opponent just really had a great draw for it. They're pitching Vampire's Vengeance. I feel like they kind of know what's up in the format. I'm not a huge fan of Gluttonous Guest in red-black, but I don't know how their draft went, so who am I to judge? They pitched. I'm not a big fan of. That's an uncommon, pretty slow. You have to discard cards to make it indestructible. Not a huge fan of that one either. I don't know why they didn't play it last turn. They had 4 mana, and it stops Flamebreathers. I guess they had another Parasitic Grasp. Ridiculous. They should have done that, I think, before, but I don't know. So that's another 3 life. So they should have been at about 1 life at this point. I think they're up 9 or 10, maybe even, I don't know. And now we have to figure out what they're splashing for. Lacerate Flesh, more removal. So now it's looking pretty bad for us. We don't have attacks. We're going to crack this blood here, pitch an island, and see if we can draw some action. There's a Raconteur. So I have a choice. I could be mana efficient and play Raconteur, or I could play the Storm Chaser Drake. I chose to be mana efficient here. I don't know if that's right. I don't have any way to get through still, and it's possible I should have just played Storm Chaser Drake so I could get in for 2 damage here next turn. Because the odds of them playing something are pretty much 100%. They have 5 mana now. We know everything they have in their hand is a spell because they've been not hitting their land drops. There's another Lacerate Flesh, yeah. So it's looking pretty grim at this point. We have a threat. 2 damage threat with a Gluttonous Guest out is not great, but hopefully we've run them out of removal. I guess it's good that we played Raconteur in that sense. They would have gotten 3 more blood tokens if they would have cast it on the Storm Chaser Drake. But then there's some point, maybe at some point, we could have flipped the Raconteur and then been able to get past and attack into that Gluttonous Guest. So it's debatable on what the appropriate action would have been to be mana efficient or get an evasive threat down for 2 damage. I do have 2 Scattered Thoughts in this deck, so I'm hoping I can catch up. They're getting more life off that Gluttonous Guest. Pretty sure they would have been dead by now if they hadn't had all that incidental life gain. 6 damage healed just from Parasitic Grasp alone. And now they have a 3/3. We do get a Luring Suitor here. So that's huge. We can cast and flip it. And then pump twice. But we have to give up a Flame Breather to do it. Or they could just block Flame Breather on Gluttonous Guest and we can't get past it. So we'll see what they do. If they choose to block with Odious Witch, we'll kill the Witch. If they choose to block with the Guest, we'll just pump the Drake twice. Hit them for 4. We do take 4 on the crackback from the Witch, and then we lose a life, and then they gain a life again. But I think we'd still win this race, so we still want to try to race them. That's what our deck is built to do. I know they have 3 spells in hand, so I have to try to shorten this game up. I think that's the line. I think that's the line. And I'm not sure. This game, more than any other, I don't know if I took the right lines here. I'm sure there were little optimizations that I could have made, but I don't. And it's possible that I should have tried to trade my dancer for the witch. And we still have to see what they're splashing for. My guess is that they're splashing for an Edgar, but we'll have to see, because we haven't seen any white cards from them. It's all been red black, pretty standard vampire stuff. So I'm not sure here if it's correct to try to block and trade with the witch. I know that I could. Deadly Dancer with a pump gets through Gluttonous Guest. So my thoughts are I can try to do that and pump the Drake at the same time, depending on what they play. But, of course, they get another blood token and another 3/3. That's really bad. And now we are in a position where we have to block that witch here. So this is tough. This is bad. This is bad news bears. Gonna pump. Get them down to 6 after they crack back with the witch. Hold on to the land and hope we can draw some spells. Opponent's drawn 5 land and however many cards. Well, I guess they pitched a mountain there, but I mean, they are holding on to all spells. It's, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So when they crack back, so they can pitch a blood token, gain a life, go to 6. They hit with the witch, then they go to 7 here. So yeah. We are not winning this race. And I'm going to have to make a decision here because I can't stand any more attacks from that witch. So I'm probably going to have to try to block it here and try to win with the Drake without pump. So they've drawn 6 land in 23 cards. Hard to compete with that. I think we've drawn around 10. 6 land and 20 and 17 spells. That is not how I draw out of my deck. My opponents do. I'm not really able to do that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So I've drawn 10 land and 22. And there's their Edgar. There's their bomb. There's their bomb. We knew they'd have. Yep. So we knew that they were going to be splashing for Edgar. Kind of sussed that out. Now they're able to deal huge damage here. So we can't take this anymore. We got to hope we can top deck. That's really our only hope. If we top deck a Sure Strike, I think we just win. No, we don't. We don't win. We would have won if we top decked a Sure Strike with the Alluring Suitor. So maybe it was a mistake to block there. But I didn't think I could take any more damage. So I have an Alchemist Retriever. That is a fantastic top deck. So we're going to swing with the Drake. We have a Retrieval to deal an extra damage. And then we'll have to try to survive this turn. Now I have blocks here. I can block Epicure on Edgar, Gluttonous Guest, bounces off Flame Breather. So I'd chump and then I'd take 4, go to 2. So we'll see what else they have. Dominating Vampire, their next rare. That's the next one. It's only the next rare that they have. So they can steal my flame breather and then kill me if they want. So what I have to do now is I have to hope they can't make a blood token. And then I have to bounce that so their vampires lose power. So their vampires lose power there. Or else I take exactly 6. This way I take 5, but of course they have the actual perfect land they need. And so now I still have to chump with Gluttonous Guest. So I should have been able to survive with the Epic here without chumping. And guess what? We top decked. We fucking top decked. Just like our opponents, we got to do it. We got to do the thing. We did the thing. We did the thing. Can't believe it. We got there. Holy cow. That, I don't know if we deserved that win. I know that our opponent probably didn't deserve that win. Because they drew damn well. And we didn't really. We got pretty flooded. But there were some lines in there where I could have optimized damage and probably didn't need to draw like that. To top deck our one, and I think those are one answer in the whole deck was Sure Strike. Because I had that Cradle of Safety. Cradle of Safety might have done it. They were at 4. I think Cradle of Safety would also have won. So I had 2 outs. We drew one. So there you go. Here we have a Dream Shackle Geist. So this is looking good. It is awkward that we have Vampire's Vengeance in the same hand, but it is what it is. We're just going to play out that Geist and hope that they don't have removal. So white-black tends to have a lot of it. Fierce Retribution and, you know, obviously all the stuff in black, like Bleed Dry and Grisly Ritual, Parasitic Grasp, all that stuff, you know. Our Gift of Fangs. Circle of Confinement would also work. Here, we have a Lambholt to kind of hold the ground. We have a plan to break the Dream Shackle Geist out of jail. We can Vampire's Vengeance if they play something with 2 toughness, or we can just kill the ghoul. And then we can Alchemist Retrieval. They let it flip tonight, which is awesome. I'm all about that. I'm happy. This allows me to potentially get in there. And then if they have Fierce Retribution, I can just bounce my new Lambholt Ravager. And I can replay it. I would flip it back today, but that's all right. So I think the line is to try to break the Geist out of jail. End of their turn. Still night. And now I have my boy. We got the boys back. Gonna play a land, and now I'm done playing lands for a while here. They didn't have Fierce Retribution last turn, and I still have Alchemist Retrieval. So sitting pretty. Opponent's at 7, 5 land, and a handful of cards. So they're gonna need something here. We know they've got cards in their hand. They just gotta start playing them. I don't know what they're doing over there. Only thing they've cast 2 spells this game. And they have 7 in the grip. So Fell Stinger's a good one, but it's going to cause them to lose life. What I should have done is, in response to that, just Vampire's Vengeance, but then I kill my Geist, so didn't really want to do that. I'll just let him go to 5. What I can do Now they're at 2 mana. I can bounce that. They go to 5. Lambholt Ravager would ping them for another 2. They go to 3. I'm trying to think if there's a way for me just to do lethal right here, but find their splash color. I don't know what they're splashing for. Maybe Anji. We have another Circle of Confinement, or the Circle of Confinement is back, I should say. But we're saving that for this special occasion. And now, since we got the Dream Shacklegeist out of the way, we can go ahead and kill that Fellstinger and our opponent next turn. If they had Flame Blessed Bolt, they would still be alive here. So maybe it was loose. Maybe I should have waited till my turn to do that. No, I don't think I'll make a difference. And we top deck the Epicure anyway. So we got there. The old Epicure ping kill. That's the dream. That's achievement unlocked right there. Achievement unlocked. One thing to note, we didn't see a single one of our 5 flame breathers that game. We have 5 of them. Not one. They were all hiding. We had the one game where we drew like 3 or 4 of them. Other than that, we haven't really seen them. We've seen a lot of these damn Raconteurs, though. This is a super sketchy keep. I want to keep it because I have 4 lands, 2 Evolving Wilds to help thin a couple mountains out of my deck. So technically, this is like removing 6 lands from the deck. So I'll only have 11 left after this. The problem is I'm on the draw. I have 2 4-drops and a bounce spell. So this is not good. Bounce spells are not good on defense. Right? They're good for tempo. You want to get your opponent to waste a bunch of mana and allow you to get in some attacks. Bounce spells become good when you have cards like Flame Breather and Raconteur on the battlefield, because then they start dealing damage to your opponent, enabling attacks, and then your opponent can't catch up because they just don't have enough mana to cast all their cards because you keep putting them back in their hand. So this hand is not good. Cradle of Safety, really not what we were hoping to see, but maybe later in the game it can help save a creature we care about, or Dream Shacklegeist or something. Undead Butler. Oh. It's not getting any better. Can probably fetch an island here since we topped the mountain. Then I think I'm good on lands for a bit. Just need stuff to play. Reckless Impulse. This is the second time we've seen that. They topped a Parasitic Grasp without a swamp. So lucky for us, we have no creatures to even play. So our opponent also isn't doing a whole lot. They cast an Undead Butler. They didn't bin any... Well, they binned a Wedding Security, actually. So they did bin a 5-drop, which is going to be good for them. We do have 1 Flame Blessed Bolt in the deck to hopefully shut off the Undead Butler, but we'll see how it goes. Now they're casting stuff. It's going to be a problem. Raconteur is not going to be able to block that next turn. Draw another Alchemist Retrieval. Our opponent is on 3 cards. So 4 cards now. Odds are they're going to have removal here, but maybe they don't use it because I don't really have any blocks on that. Socialite, they can just crash in for 5 if they want to, get me down to 13. Looks like they're going to start getting aggro. Might have been a mistake to block that Butler. I have 5 Flame Breathers. That can just bounce with that thing, but I figure, okay, it's going to die anyway. They might have Exploit. They might have a Rot Tide Gargantua. There's a lot that they could do to really screw up my day. So we're just gonna bite the bullet. Of course, they got that Parasitic Grasp, right? They always do. All right, now we can at least protect Lambholt, but if they go land 5 into Wedding Security, we're in deep, deep trouble. I'm going to hit us down to 10 here. We do have next turn, we'll have 6 mana. That means Scattered Thoughts plus Cradle of Safety if we need it. We're going to take another big hit, going down to 8. Not enough mana to... we can only bounce one of our own permanents, not one of theirs. And a belligerent guest. Luckily, that bounces. So now we finally draw our flame breather. All of our spells are either flash or instant, so we're going to be able to play at instant speed here. That is huge for us. We have 2 alchemist retrievals up. We have scattered thoughts if for whatever reason they didn't do anything, which isn't going to happen. But we have 2 alchemist retrieval or an alchemist retrieval and a cradle of safety. This is huge for us if they have removal. And then we can go ahead and bounce that stupid socialite. It's another good sign. It looks like they want to kill us this turn if they can. So maybe they have a way to deal 2 damage or some damage to face. Maybe they have an Epicure in hand. And they think, oh, if I swing out, I'll lose the belligerent guest, but I'll make my blood crazed socialite a 7/7. Finish them off with an Epicure or something. So we have some plans here. There's 4 open mana. Opponent should be expecting something. I wouldn't personally swing with that belligerent guest right here. Don't think that's the play. Because I'm going to block. I'm going to have to. When I have tricks and stuff, if they do something. They didn't sack the blood. So, noted. Unfortunately, they do have enough mana to recast this socialite. Another line it could have taken is bounce the Gift of Fangs. And then double block that socialite, but then I still lose the flame breather, and then they get to recast the fangs on their next creature. So didn't really like that idea. Here they just, I was thinking there's going to be removal 100% on the Rack-and-Tour, but they just chose to recast socialite. They just completely threw away that belligerent guest. I think they thought they were going to be able to kill me soon. Still able to play everything at instant speed, and we can flip it tonight here, so. Now what I can do is I can try the double block on the socialite if they make it a 5/5. And then I lose the Ravager, but I keep the Flame Breather. I don't know if that's a good trade, but I'm at 8, so I got to do something. And I'm going to have to deal with this stupid wedding security as well. This is tempo. We're dealing with 3 here. We do get to swing back if we want with Ravager. And then we can also cast Scattered Thoughts here. So, not sure if that was the right play. It might not have been. It could be that I was just supposed to let Ravager die there, but now we're able to deal 3 more. They're down to 15, and then hopefully we can uncover some spells we can cast. So Chill and Sure Strike are huge here. This is huge for us. Sure Strike is going to allow us to be able to kill that wedding security if we need to. And then we also have Storm Chaser Drake to try to be evasive. I think the plan here is kill them with pingers. Still able to play my entire turn at instant speed. So cast this Flame Breather. Don't do anything. I could Chill the Grave and get in there, but I guess I'm offensive now. So I think this is, well, Sure Strike. Maybe that was just wrong, because now I'm double spelling this turn. And I should have just played back on defense. I think this was the wrong line. I guess, you know, there's something to be said about not letting them draw their card off wedding security as well. And I still do have a Cradle of Safety here. I have 3 spells in my hand. Yes, it is daytime now, but that's 9 damage represented between those 3 spells. I'm going to be able to play 1 this turn, and if Scattered Thoughts uncovers a land next turn, I can just pretty much guaranteed to kill them unless they wipe my board here. So they're going to have to do something pretty special. So plan is hit them for 3 with a Cradle of Safety. They have another wedding security. Next turn, we can Scattered Thoughts for a land and or a 2-mana spell. Get either one of those, and then we can cast Chill of the Grave to tap down the security, and then we win. Or if we just top a land here, that works too. We don't. And then we fuck it up. I mean, this is going to do it because we can just swing in. But probably shouldn't have even grabbed the flame breather in that scenario. If they were to live. Probably better just to grab the Vampire's Vengeance. Even though all their shit's vampires, all of our shit survives it. So yeah, Chill of the Grave, there's nothing for 1 black mana they could have done, so I guess that was the right line there, rather than trying to gamble on Scattered Thoughts. Which isn't too much of a gamble, finding 1 land in your top 4, or a spell that cost me 2 mana, but Chill of the Grave just does the job. That's the pingers. Right there, baby. Flame Breathers are so broken if you can get a critical mass. So that time we had 2 plus a Raconteur out of the 5 in our deck. So in the bottom 13 cards, I think we binned 1. There were 2 more. So we had 3 of them in the bottom like 15 cards of our deck. Plus another Raconteur, so 4. 4 total. It's kind of crazy. Here, this is a fine hand. This is probably one of the better hands that we've gotten so far. Flame Breather on 2. We have a Sure Strike, Chill of the Grave, a Lamholt Raconteur. Just drew into a Scattered Thoughts. Feeling pretty good as long as we can keep our creatures on the board here. Opponent's playing green-red. Werewolves are tough. If you can get the uncommons, or else it's kind of a weak deck. So debating here what I want to do. I could chill this thing and get in, draw a card. I do need to get my 4th land, so makes sense to me. Now that I know I have land 4, I think I'm good. We play Lamholt Raconteur here. We have a Bloody Betrayal for when they play down a big wolf. We can steal it and beat them over the head with it. And at this point, I think I'm sitting pretty and I'm going to win this race. Because I have some big butts here. I know that I'm not going to block that 2-3. There's just way too many tricks that they could have. And my deck plays at instant speed. So if they have... like the +3/+3 were pretty bad. We're in pretty bad shape. Luckily, they don't mess with me. And they just play a Lightning Wolf. Super pumped about that. Happy about that. Because if they could have got in 2 free damage, no problem. Right there. Not going to trade my 2-drop for theirs. I'll just take the 1. Here I'm going to try to get in. I feel like I'm going to be able to win this race. So I know they can block if they want, but then I can Flame Blessed Bolt. Or Sure Strike. Deal a couple more damage. Beat the crap out of them. They're down to 9. So feeling good. They do have 5 damage on the crackback, but we have 2 spells in hand. So that's another 4 damage. So they're effectively at 5 life here, and I'm going to be drawing 2 cards off Scattered Thoughts, and I have a Flame Blessed Bolt to kill something. Keep playing big butts, though. So I don't like that. Sharpshooter still just bounces, so I still get in for 1 here, no matter what. Now we have a decision. So we have Falconwrath Celebrants, which is a menace threat. Or we could try to flip it tonight. If we flip it tonight, these 2 spells deal 6 to our opponent. So the hope is that we cast both those, deal them 6, and then with Scattered Thoughts, we find something else we can cast next turn, and that they can't kill our stuff. Weary Prisoner. It's a big boy. They do have 1 mana open for the +2/+2 trick. Massive Might or something. So I have to be careful here. I want to see if they want to save it. But maybe that was wrong to do. It's probably loose. I probably should have cast Scattered Thoughts first. There's nothing else for 1 mana I could have gotten. I guess I could have gotten a Alchemist Retrieval and then try to double block on the Sharpshooter. And if they had Massive Might, I could just bounce one of my dudes, but then, yeah, it's really not good for me, so. We're going to cast Scattered Thoughts, hope we find a spell, and then we can kill him next turn. And there it is. So we get 2. Alchemist Retrieval and Vampire's Vengeance are going to do it. We'll bin that Raconteur. Bounce. And that is game. Dealt them. Almost all of our damage was done just through pings there. We dealt 9 damage. 6 of it on their turn, 3 of it on our turn. We had 3 more coming. 2 creatures. That's insane. Completely bananas. So that's how the deck hums when it's really going. You can't race it. We outraced a beatdown deck. That being said, our opponent played Toxic Scorpion and Apprentice Sharpshooter, which weren't exactly the most threatening of creatures. On to the next one. I think that's 5 or 6. Maybe it's 5. 2 more. 5-0 so far. We had a really tough game against an opponent who drew like 6 lands and 23 cards, including their bomb Edgar, that we were able to top deck our way out of. It's very lucky. I think, you know, there are some mistakes in these games that I'm making going back through, just finding the line. I think the draft went okay. Here we got a mull, so that's not good. It's not a good precedent to start setting. We have a pretty decent hand. Being on the play with a Dream Shackle Geist, though, I'm gonna ditch that Vampire's Vengeance, I think. Very lucky draw. Very lucky draw to get that island. Now we can play on curve, Dream Shackle Geist, or an Alluring Suit, or whatever we want to do. The plan is beat down. I feel like I'm going to win this race being on the play against a blue-black deck. So even though I'm trading down in damage here, and the fact that they said good game gives me some hope. Now they can crack back for 2, but I have an Alluring Suitor coming next turn, which is really good for me. And so I can tap down their thing, flip the Suitor. I want to do that. Provided they don't kill Geist here. And it's another Throng, so I didn't even need to do that. So I can play Suitor here, pump. I can tap, or keep the Retro Throng tap because they don't have blocks, and there's nothing for 1 black that I'm afraid of. Flip my Suitor, have a 3/3, get in for 5. It's a great turn. And now we are really winning this race. I don't think I would block the 2/1 because I'm just winning. They have to raw dog a Diregraph Scavenger, which I can just tap. And I'm able to cast Scattered Thoughts here. Two more Flame Breathers, don't mind if I do. Put a couple lands that I don't want anyway in the yard. Now let's get in for 7. They go to 6. Now they're in real trouble. They got to kill Dream Shacklegeist, they got to kill Flame Breather. They got to kill Deadly Dancer because it has Trample. They've got a lot of work to do with 4 mana. We have 2 Flame Breathers coming down next turn. Plus, we'll have 2 mana left over if we happen to draw like a 2 mana spell. All right, 5. Gluttonous Guest can gain him a life, but I don't know if that's going to do it. Soul Cipher board does absolutely nothing. So, don't know how they're going to get out of this one. I don't know if there's a line here where I can win this turn. I don't believe there is. I mean, I could try to tap down the Gluttonous Guest, swing with Dancer, try to trample over a point on the Diregraph Scavenger, then pump Flame Breather, so they'd have to double block the Flame Breather. Then they would go to 2 if they did that. So I don't think there's a way for me to win here. What I can do is I can tap the Scavenger or tap the Scavenger, swing with Dancer, but then they can just double block with Throng. Or they could block with Scavenger. Or if I attack, and then they could chump with Guest, but then they could also double block with a Throng and a Guest. So I don't think there was an easy way. And now they need an answer to Dream Shacklegeist, and then any spell kills them. So they need to kill a Flame Breather and the Geist this turn. Couldn't get there. Looks like they might have been a little flooded out, but who knows? They're just digging around. That was a quick game. Again, showing off the power of Dream Shacklegeist there. 1 more to go. Last game. This is a fun deck. Love this type of deck. The best I think Crimson Vow has to offer. Unless you get one of those sweet bombs and you're able to cast it every turn, like Toxrill or something. Those are miserable to play against. Oh, that Wedding Announcement I think is the worst one. Because you think you can win. Or Avabruck Caretaker just feels like so hopeless. Playing against Avabruck Caretaker. Oh, Hana and Elena. So bad to play against 2 in this format. It's really hard. There's a lot of crazy bombs. I do think the white-blue deck is also really fun, the Disturb deck. Here, we get kind of a crazy hand. 3 Flame Breathers and a Vampire's Vengeance. So, I'm all about our opponent playing stuff with less than 2 toughness. Or 2 toughness or less. They did it twice. So I gotta figure out how much damage I'm willing to take. Right now, I got blocks. You know, I don't mind taking 1. I'll take 1 for a while. They want to spend their turn pumping that while I set up some Flame Breathers so they can go ahead. I could have just taken the 2 for 1 here, but so damn greedy. Get in for 1, and if they want to spend their turn pumping again, they can do that too. Block again. If they want to use a trick on Flame Breather, totally cool with that. Hookhand Mariner's a problem for my deck. I have Lacerate Flesh and some Bounce, but yeah, it's not good. So there, I'm going to try to stop the bleeding. What I could have, maybe should have done, no, I didn't want to trade 2 Flame Breathers for that Mariner. Plus, they could have pumped the Snarling Wolf. So we're just going to have to take 4 here. Down to 11. Opponent's got 4 cards in hand, so this is rough. This is not good. I do have Falcon Wrath Celebrants to hopefully try to trade for that Mariner, but we shall see. Yeah. And it's now flipped to night, so that's not good. So any removal here, and we're in deep, deep crap. I could have tried to bring it back today there, cast Flame Breather and Cradle of Safety, but obviously they have the damn Wolf Strike. What they should have done is probably waited till their turn, but I get why they didn't. They wanted to play a spell on their turn as well. So now we're going to 5. So we don't have a lot of outs here. We need to top removal. We need a land if we're going to do Scattered Thoughts into like a Sure Strike. So that's, you know, we need it. And our opponent has to have nothing. Pitching a Flourishing Hunter, a 6-drop. Looking for land. All right. So this is big, big trouble. We cannot block that thing. So we know what our outs are, and that is Sure Strike. Or a bounce spell. We bounce it. We got them both. So now we have a decision of what to do. I think technically I'm supposed to be Alchemist Retrievaling here, but I go for it and hope that the last 2 cards in their hand aren't tricks. The reason that I shouldn't be using Sure Strike is because I have to use it on a Flame Breather before blockers are declared, which means if they have Wolf Strike or some sort of removal in place, then I'm just dead. But I go for it. I'm going to go for it. And they don't have it. I'm allowed to make the block, and then we got there. This was the big gamble. I don't think this was the correct play, but you got to know when to risk it. I guess that was the time where they didn't have a trick. They didn't have removal, because if they did, I'm just dead. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Opponent is now in the tank. We have 5 mana, 3 cards in hand. I like our spot now. We have 2 Flame Breathers, gonna have our 3rd, and we can play the whole rest of the game at instant speed if we need to and just beat them down. So Scattered Thoughts is gonna do work. We have 3 blood tokens in case we start flooding out. We have some protection for our creatures with Cradle of Safety. If they play a bomb, we have Alchemist Retrieval. So there's a lot we can do here. And each time you cast one of those spells, they take 3 damage. That is a bomb. We knew they were going to have that. That's a ridiculous bomb. One of the better cards in the set. Incredibly difficult to deal with. And it gains them life. So that's going to outpace our Flame Breathers. So we got to get that back to their hand before they can gain life from it. Or else we're just dead. So now the plan is we have to kill them before the next turn. That means we do this. And then we have to hope we can get Scattered Thoughts into a spell. And we do. We do. The correct play here, I believe, so if we tap Gluttonous Guest, we can only get in for 2 and they go to 1. So the correct play there was to play Scattered Thoughts and try to find a land or a 2-mana spell. In that case, that was a little bit different. So we got there. That was a fun one. Great deck. Loved it.